Okay, next we will look how hormones being synthesized, and the next slide is we focus on synthesis of steroid, also synthesis of peptide hormones, these two big classes of hormones. Alright, okay, so first is the steroid classes of steroid hormones. There are three classes: sex steroid hormone, glucocorticoid, mineralocorticoid. So these three types is steroid hormones. So sex steroid, example here, progesterone. Glucocorticoid, corticosterone is example of glucocorticoid. Okay, usually it involves the stress, involved in stress mechanism. Okay, and relate with the energy production. Okay, mineralocorticoid, example here, aldosterone. So it's for electrolyte balance, so sodium. Okay, so maintaining the sodium balance. So this one diagram here show you the mechanism of steroid hormones. So basically steroid hormones traveling inside the blood or through the blood need carry protein. Okay, once arrive at the target cells or target organ, it will bind to intracellular receptors. So there are another specific cell surface receptor. If it's able to bind, it will cause immediate effect mediated by second messenger system. So this one relate with G protein couple receptor. Okay, so basically steroid hormones will bind to intracellular receptor or cytoplasmic receptor. Okay, maybe some of it need the second messenger system. Okay, once bind to the receptor, it will cause the activation of gene expression. Okay, nuclear receptor bind with the nuclear receptor cause the activation of gene expression. It was transcribed, produced mRNA, and then translated at endoplasmic reticulum here, packaged in Golgi apparatus, making a new protein. So this new protein is actually the effect. So this new protein will cause the effect. But new protein produce change in cellular activity. Right. So same here, steroid hormone action. Okay, so now we look into the synthesis of steroid hormone. So the precursor of steroid hormone is cholesterol. Okay, and then this cholesterol will undergo enzymatic reaction or conversion using enzymes. So cholesterol convert into pregnenolone. So the second form, or the second conversion of cholesterol, and then from these pregnenolone will undergo various pathway of enzymatic reaction to produce whether dehydroepiandrosterone. So if you remember, if this is DHEA in reproduction, androstenedione, so this one androgen also, pregnenolone also can undergo this pathway here, undergo enzymatic reaction to produce cortisol. So this one glucocorticoid just now, this one, okay, glucocorticoid, pregnenolone undergo this pathway, this one, enzymatic reaction to produce progesterone. So this first stage of, second stage of enzymatic reaction will produce sex steroid hormone first, and then this progesterone also as a precursor converted or undergo enzymatic reaction, convert into corticosterone, glucocorticoid, and then this can be converted or undergo enzymatic reaction into mineralocorticoid. So this is basically how hormone being synthesized, steroid hormones being synthesized. Okay, so this is the explanation, common precursor to all steroid hormones. Synthesis of various steroid hormones from cholesterol requires a series of enzymatic reaction. So it will modify the cholesterol, So conversion from cholesterol to a specific steroid hormone requires the help of particular enzymes. So this diagram here is the detailed form of how steroid hormones being synthesized. So again, cholesterol as the precursor will undergo enzymatic reaction. This is the enzyme, so produced or converted into pregnenolone. So this pregnenolone will have many pathways to produce many types of sex steroid hormone. Okay, so one of the pathway produce the sex steroid hormone and then undergo enzymatic reaction to produce the second type or the third type. Okay, this pathway here eventually produce also sex steroid hormone in male androgens. Okay, yep, testosterone. So yeah, the precursor cholesterol can undergo enzymatic reaction to produce these hormones here. Okay, all right. So in terms of storage and circulation of steroid hormone, okay. After being synthesized, steroid hormone are not stored, but it will be used immediately. Okay, it will be used immediately, so it will immediately diffuse into the blood, travel to the target cell. Alright. So another term for steroid hormone is produced on demand. When there are signal in need of steroid hormone, so the cells, the target or the signaling cells and the target cell will the responsible cells or organs will produce the steroid hormones. Okay, next we look into the second one, the bigger classification of hormones, how peptide hormones being synthesized. Okay, so basically peptide hormones are amino acids, okay, being packed together or being combined together, dipeptide, polypeptide, and eventually produce the interested protein. Okay, so this hormone peptide produced in the cytoplasmic region of the cells. Okay, pre-hormones are synthesized by ribosomes on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and then through ER and Golgi, the pre-hormones are pruned or packaged, trimmed to active hormones, and then the Golgi complex package the finished hormone into secretory vesicle. So peptide hormone being stored in secretory vesicle. Okay. Pinch off and then store in cytoplasm. When appropriate signal triggers, it will exocytosis, release the peptide hormones. Okay. And then once released, it will travel into the blood to the target organ or target cells. Alright, so two types of hormones being synthesized and stored, and then secretion of these hormones here. So next we go into we look into the major glands of endocrine gland. Pituitary gland. So vertebrate pituitary gland secrete many important hormones, okay, relate with growth, reproduction, and metabolism. And this pituitary gland divided into, there are two divisions of pituitary gland, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Okay, It also has a third division, intermediate lobe, which secrete this one, melanocyte stimulating hormone. So it relate with the or involved in pigmentation. Okay, so focus on this slide, the second slide here. Let's change the view. Okay, pituitary glands hormones. So we have hypothalamus also give signal to pituitary glands here. Okay, so anterior pituitary, you look at the first one here, anterior pituitary can secrete TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So this thyroid stimulating hormone, when it present or being secreted by anterior pituitary, it will travel into the blood and travel through the blood to thyroid gland, and it will signal the thyroid gland to produce their action. So the thyroid gland action is to secrete thyroid hormones. Okay, the anterior pituitary also can secrete ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormones. Okay, once anterior pituitary secrete ACTH, it will travel through the blood, go to adrenal gland, adrenal cortex especially. It will signal the adrenal cortex to produce its hormones. Okay, anterior pituitary also can secrete or able to secrete GH, growth hormone. Once growth hormone secreted by anterior pituitary travel through the blood to the bone or muscle, and it will produce action. Its action is growth of the bone and muscle. Anterior pituitary also release or secrete GnRH, not GnRH. It secrete gonadotropins or gonadotropic hormones, which is FSH and LH. Okay, so FSH, LH being secreted by anterior pituitary travel through the blood to gonad system and stimulate the gonad system to cause their action, and also to secrete hormone, testosterone for testes, estrogen, progesterone for ovary. Anterior pituitary also release PRL. Okay, it's not prolactin, prolactin releasing hormone. Okay, prolactin releasing hormone. Okay, it will stimulate, not prolactin releasing hormone. Anterior pituitary secrete prolactin. Okay, prolactin, it will cause the mammary glands to produce milk. Okay, so the blue color here, okay, all of this is being secreted. Not this one. Okay, this one being secreted by anterior pituitary. Okay, posterior pituitary secrete oxytocin or ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Okay, or vasopressin. Okay, posterior pituitary secrete oxytocin, travel through the blood to muscle of uterus to cause contraction. Posterior pituitary secrete ADH, antidiuretic hormones, travel through the blood to the kidney tubules for water maintenance. Okay, maintenance. Yep. Alright, so This is the major hormones gland, okay, from pituitary. And these hormones here is important to cause effect or to maintain homeostatic balancing our body. Alright. Okay, the same thing here for this slide. Maybe this one much more clearer. Anterior pituitary. Okay. Secrete prolactin. It will cause milk to produce mammary gland to produce milk. ACTH, secrete by anterior pituitary, travel to adrenal cortex to secrete adrenaline. Okay. Growth hormone to body cells to cause growth. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone secreted by anterior pituitary, travel through the blood to thyroid for the thyroid to secrete thyroxine. And then this thyroxine will stimulate growth and metabolism. FSH, LH, okay, travel to gonads to cause their action. Okay, only two hormones being secreted by posterior pituitary, ADH, oxytocin. Okay, so these two will cause their effect. ADH in water balance, okay, oxytocin in contractions. Alright. So basically this is explanation of posterior pituitary, what it does, posterior pituitary secrete. Okay, I think the most important concept for this slide here is this one, first order feedback loop. Okay, neurons that originate into hypothalamus terminate in posterior pituitary. The cell bodies of these neurons synthesize oxytocins and vasopressin, ADH. So this oxytocin and ADH also is called neurohormones. Why? Because these hormones secreted by cell bodies of neurons. That's why neurohormones. Okay, it calls neurohormones. Why? Because ADH and oxytocin secreted by neurons. Okay, secreted by neurons. The neural endings in the posterior pituitary secrete these hormones into the blood. Oxytocin, vasopressin are example of neurohormones. Okay, involved in first order feedback loop. Connects the integrating center and the effector organ. Okay, once this vasopressin and oxytocin secreted by this neuron, it will cause its effects directly. That's why first order feedback loop. From the center, the brain, the posterior pituitary, being secreted by this neuron, and it directly cause effect, or it will directly go to the effector organ. That's why first order feedback. Okay, so this is explanation of how oxytocin cause the effect. So oxytocin also a example of positive feedback pathway. Oxytocin both a neurotransmitter and a hormone. It involved in regulation of uterine contraction and breastfeeding. Okay, this one breastfeeding, suckling. Okay, prolactin for milk production, but oxytocin involved in suckling. Okay, the breastfeeding. Okay, what happened? Hypothalamus get the signal, and it will stimulate the posterior pituitary. Okay, hypothalamus, neurosecretory cell of hypothalamus send signal to posterior pituitary, and posterior pituitary will secrete oxytocin. or ADH, depend on the situation. If in this case here, oxytocin, so once posterior pituitary secrete the oxytocin, it will travel to mammary glands for suckling or uterine muscle for birth. Okay, mammal's birth. Okay. Okay, this slide here. Estrogen also a signal. Okay, estrogen from ovaries, so it will induce oxytocin receptors on uterus, meaning it will multiply or proliferate receptor for oxytocin on the uterus cell or uterine cells. Okay, okay, the estrogen cause many receptors of the for oxytocin on the uterine cells. Okay, the fetus here. Okay, the fetus here start to send signal at the cervix here. Pressure signal at the cervix here. It will stimulate placenta to make prostaglandin. Okay. Also, when prostaglandin is high in concentration or available, it will stimulate contraction of the uterus. Once the uterus start to contract, it will send signal to the posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary will secrete oxytocin. Oxytocin from fetus and mother's posterior pituitary. Okay, this oxytocin comes from both mothers and the fetus. This oxytocin go back to the placenta. It will cause more vigorous contraction. Okay, and then the baby keep pushing this cervix or the birth canal here. More signal to the posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary secrete more oxytocin. Oxytocin release, travel to placenta and cause more contraction. Okay, until this baby out, then the circle here stop. So why does this oxytocin call positive feedback? It amplify. Okay, it keep amplify the signal, the uterus contraction signal. Okay, that's why positive feedback. Okay, the second one here, second case study of positive feedback pathway or mechanism. Stimulation of presoreceptor in the nipples. Okay, the pressure, the receptors of pressure, the receptor that detect pressure at the nipples detect the suckling of the infants. Okay, so that is the signal. That signal, the presoreceptor send efferent impulses to the brain hypothalamus. Okay, sent to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus detects that signals. It will send its signal to posterior pituitary, and then once posterior pituitary stimulated, it will release oxytocin from the posterior, and then it will oxytocin will travel through the blood to myoepithelial cells of the breast or myoepithelial cells of the nipple, so that it will contract. Once it contracts, alveolar glands respond. Because of the contraction, these gland can release the milk through the duct nipples, and then the baby can get the milk, and then the baby keep suckling. So more signal on the presoreceptor. This signal go to the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus detect and send signal to the posterior pituitary to release more oxytocin. Oxytocin travels and then stimulate the myoepithelial cells of breast, and then this Stimulation cause the releasing of milk and the baby get the milk. Okay. Positive feedback mechanism continues the cycle until interrupted when the baby cease or to suck, or when the baby feel full, kenyang. Okay. It will stop suckling and no more signal, no more oxytocin being secreted. Okay, so positive feedback. It enhance the signal. Amplify the signal. Alright.